which we can get into right now. Um, but really, if you hold any cryptos on Coinbase in India, that's actually criminal now. So that's absolutely insane. But um, moving on from that, like let's just talk a little bit about the IPO this week. So it opened actually at 381. They expected the price to be at around 250, but obviously, as retail investors, we know that by the time we get our hands on one of these new stocks, the IPO, it usually runs up significantly. So we actually were able to buy at 381 if you place the market order in advance of open. Almost immediately, it did drop to, I believe, a low of 310, which did get bought up. But like it hovered around the 350 range, sometimes dipping below that around 320, 330. But it looks to be settling in around the 340 mark, which is where it closed basically on Friday. But obviously, this news would have significant consequences. And you see in the other crypto-related stocks like Riot and Mara, they actually got liquidated. Basically, I think what happened is retail dumped those stocks to buy Coinbase. So you already saw a massive sell-off there. Coinbase also sold off from its opening price, but like it's interesting the timing of it now, because if there is more regulation being in place here now, and a lot of the luster behind cryptos being lost, we might very well have seen the top for crypto, at least for now, because you remember in 2017 when it peaked, Bitcoin fell all the way down to, I think it was like $5,000 again, USD.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's seen if this is just a correction or if it is a steep sell-off. But I was personally thinking that once Bitcoin hit around the 70,000 USD mark, that it would retreat, probably about a 50% correction, just because of the way it's gone off over the last 6 months or so, or almost a year, basically. But it remains to be seen whether this is just another pullback for the next leg up, or whether it will actually come crashing down significantly. But yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on. And Syed, I know you wanted to talk a little bit more about the business model of Coinbase, so I'll let you talk a little bit more about that before we move on.
Yeah. Yeah, so Coinbase, like you mentioned, just hearing the news about India banning it is gonna impact crypto in general and Coinbase. Obviously, as it's a strict measure implemented by their government, and that's breaking news there. But long term, and I talked about this on our social medias, long term investing into Coinbase. So right now, Coinbase's profits are based on transaction fees. So I'm thinking long term in the future, right? What if, like, I'm sure there's exchanges out there, or like exchanges that are thinking about becoming like exchange, like having rates lower than Coinbase, even potential rates of zero. That big zero is gonna lure customers into going into that exchange and leaving Coinbase, because transaction fees are things that like people look at, especially day traders, right? Day traders in crypto. Every time they make a transaction on crypto or on their exchange, you have to pay like a certain percentage of fees, right? So if an exchange comes out in the future, and I'm thinking like 3 years, 4 years down the line, right? Or even 2 years, if an exchange like that comes out, would Coinbase be able to stay on top? Is my concern. And that's a business model that I feel like competitors are gonna eye. And we saw this in the stock world too, with Robinhood, right? How they offer $0 transactions, right? So would someone in the crypto world, an exchange in the crypto world, be thinking about that right now? I wonder. It could be a possibility.
Where my stance on that is, you've seen um, with Robinhood, with the rise of the meme stocks, we could say, like the short squeeze, that what happened with Robinhood is that they actually shut down trading for these stocks like AMC, like GameStop. So you weren't able to, I think you were allowed to sell, but you weren't allowed to buy more than one
Yeah, you
share at
were
a
to
time,
sell.
right?
Yeah.
I think that's what they did. So there was some sort of manipulation that people felt was happening there, right? And I think it goes back to that same principle. Like, you want to be in an exchange where you feel like you have the ability to buy and sell, right? Like the security aspect is big, because even when the security got halted, like I remember GameStop on TD's platform was halted for a little bit, but they
Yeah.
never actually prevented you from buying or selling. It just took a little bit longer for the transaction to process, which is fair because of the volumes we were seeing. But really, if you have a situation like that again, and I think Robinhood had the same thing with Doge as well. I
Yeah,
think there was an outage on that. So if you have those concerns, like first of all, Robinhood, I think people just generally have a little bit more comfort dealing with, just because so many people have adopted and use Robinhood. But if you're talking about crypto exchanges, how many of them are out there that you actually feel comfortable putting your money in, right? Like there's so many exchanges, and one that comes to mind is Einstein, which back in 2017, when it saw that massive run up, the exchange went bankrupt basically, and whoever invested or had
yeah,
coins there lost all their money.
yep.
So as as someone who potentially got burned on that side, or just learning from that experience, you don't want to actually put your money into an exchange that's new, unproven, or doesn't have a widely adopted user base, right? Just for security purposes, because you can think like you buy Bitcoin at $5,000, it goes up to 70, and all of a sudden, when you want to go sell, you can't sell, right? So you want to avoid that situation. And I think the security purposes, we always talk about data protection, data leakages, all those things we talk about down on the bottom line, right? If you go to an exchange that's unproven or new, you always run that risk of, okay, what if your information gets out, right? So I think there's multiple facets that you have to take into consideration. And even if another exchange does offer like zero transaction fees, whatever the case may be, I think people will be willing to pay that transaction fee for the added layer of comfort and security. And I think until there is a legitimate competitor to Coinbase in that sense, I think they'll always have the large market share.
Absolutely, yeah. You mentioned that, and I feel like that's a logical thing to do. As here at the bottom line, we talk about security and privacy and data leakage all the time, right? That's a logical thing. But I feel like, and I don't know, what do you guys think? What do our viewers think? Like, would you go for a exchange that offers zero transaction fees? Would you do that right away? And it's unproven. They say that they are secure and stuff, but would you go for that? I don't know. I think logically, yes, you would stay with the more reputable one and the more secure one. So in this case, Coinbase, or in stocks, you would stay with like TD or CIBC, right, or whatever you use, right, and you wouldn't switch to like a Robinhood per se, right? But I feel like the majority of the people, they see the word free and they jump without looking at the security ramifications. And I don't think that's a smart move, but that's unfortunately the way these new companies market, right?
I think the people that would jump on that are probably more so retail investors that don't actually have much invested in these cryptocurrencies, because you'd be hard pressed to find someone with a significant amount of cash, I think, going into an exchange that's unproven or sketchy, we can say, quote unquote, and put a lot of money in there, right? Like if you're talking a few $100s here and there, like, okay, fine. I'm not going to go pay copious amounts of transaction fees for that. But if you like, that's why we talk about crypto wallets, right? If you have a lot of cryptocurrencies, you don't even want to leave your crypto on the exchange. You want your own wallet. So I think by that virtue, if you actually look at the big pockets or the big money, that's only going to flow into something like Coinbase. It's not going to go into something that's unproven. And Robinhood, we see like I see a lot of people gravitate to Robinhood, but Robinhood technically has proved itself, right, over the years, and it is planning on even going public. So now it's going to be a publicly traded company. People are comfortable in publicly traded companies, right? So that gives it another sense of legitimacy, just because of the scrutiny that's placed on the stock, right? So, or on the company when it is publicly traded. So I think that all of that factors in, and like I said, like I think the big money is going to stick with Coinbase until there is another major player in the market, but I don't see that for now or for the immediate future. So I think for now, Coinbase is going to be the dominant one in terms of market share.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, and great point. I was going to bring that up about crypto wallets. Once again, want to reiterate the fact that if you are big on crypto investing, make sure you don't leave your funds, your cryptocurrency on the exchange. Get a wallet, get a hard wallet,